Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. How are you today? Ready for some news stories from Ask a Lawyer? Let's go to the first one, about OP's husband, who refuses to pay their child's medical bills, but happily sends money to his ex. Listen to the story to find out why, and of course, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. My husband and I are looking to sell our house and buy a bigger house with room to grow so we can have our second baby together. We have our 2-year-old daughter together, my only child, and he has 2 older sons with 2 other women. During the mortgage application process, I see that he has Zelle charges on his checking account to his ex-wife for about $400 over the last 2 months. He's not legally obligated to pay her any child support. I recently had to take my daughter and I to Care Now due to being sick with a virus, which cost $390 between her and I. I asked him if he would help me with the bill, at least our daughter's part of it, and he said yes. He never sent me the money. It's been 2 weeks, and he stated he will no longer help me financially, even though he makes more money than me, about $15,000 more a year, because he's helped me too much already, verbatim. We have separate bank accounts, and I am expected to pay 50% of all the bills. When I asked him what he's been sending his ex money for and not helping me out with our daughter's medical bills, he said it was for school supplies, then freaked out, called me a bunch of names, said he won't be controlled or asked questions, took off his wedding ring, and said he wants a divorce. I literally just wanted to know why he was sending his ex that much money, especially when he's not even legally obligated to pay child support. I was calm and not looking for a fight. I've always felt like his favorite child is the child he has with her. I don't know why the Zelle money has to be a secret or a fight. She tried filing for child support when she realized we were together, but the courts didn't order it because she abandoned him when he was young. Long story. Anyways, I feel like I struggle to pay the bills and to make ends meet, paying half of all the mutual bills, when I've always made less money than him. Plus, I pay for all my own bills. Plus, I support our daughter, buy her clothes, medical bills, etc. He helps pay for daycare and buys her shoes at times, but that's about it. I just wanted an explanation for why he's sending his ex all that money. I don't know why he freaked out on me so bad, or why he won't help with our daughter. Edit. I want to reiterate that I do not mind him helping her out financially with their child if he were to need something. I just wanted to know what he sent her the money for, and why he's not helping me with our daughter's medical bills. We got sick unexpectedly, and I had to put the charge on my credit card. I mentioned that he's not financially obligated to pay her child support, to show that him sending her money is not a normal occurrence, at least that I'm aware of. I simply wanted to know what he zelled her the money for. I can't help that it bothers me that he willingly helps her out financially and bends over backwards to keep her happy, but he won't help me with our daughter's unexpected medical bills and is treating me like crap for asking him a question about finances. I would also like to add that his baby mama's husband makes enough money for the 2 of them, so she doesn't even have to work. Nice cars, nice house. They're well off. She's not struggling at all. I'm over here having to put our daughter's medical bill on my credit card with no help from my husband, her father, and getting treated badly for asking a question. That's what I'm upset about. OP shouldn't have to ask him to help with their child together, especially if they live together and are married. OP can barely make ends meet with this child, so I don't understand why she's having another one with him. He won't help with that one either. I would seriously question this marriage. This is not normal or healthy. And now let's see if the community agrees with me. Frequent Stranger 13 says, "Something super funky is going on here. Do not buy a house or have a second kid with this man. He is legally and morally obligated to split the bills for your joint child together. If you won't do it willingly, the courts will make him. I have a strong suspicion something is going on with that baby mama." RH Superfan says, "If I questioned my husband why he was sending someone else money and he said he wants a divorce, then I would give it to him. A question about money is a minimal requirement for our marriage, and it was too much. If he was like, yeah, she needed money and said she would go to court, so I gave her some, that's one thing. He straight up wanted to leave you for asking. Do you watch the kids a lot? If you're watching his kids that are not yours at all, you need to stop immediately or tell him a fair wage price for babysitting. I would charge $10 to $15 an hour and let him know since you guys don't share finances, then you shouldn't be required to give your time for free." Zero Zip Zilch Not a Nun says, "You keep saying he's not legally obligated to pay child support as if that matters. Honey, the man has 3 children with 3 different women. Even if he's not legally obligated, There's still a basic adult responsibility to provide for and take care of his children. He's not taking care of the two older ones. Why do you expect him to take care of yours? Maybe I'm being unreasonable, but as a woman, the way you keep throwing up the not legally obligated to support them as your reasoning for being upset just really grills my grits. The other women probably messed up by having children with this loser, but he didn't have a set pattern when they did. You knew from the beginning that he was an irresponsible F&D a-hole, yet you still got with him. And now you and your child are being treated the same way he treats his other children and baby mamas. You're all upset about it. I'm sure that baby mama was excited to get $400 from him. You should be equally excited to get childcare and shoes sometimes. My 28 female fiance, E, 30 male, was willing to sell his BMW to my half-brother, 18 male, at market price because he said he really wanted it. E was not looking to sell it and had just had major work done. For context, E has 3 cars. They were all nice sports cars. E agreed to the down payment amount and was fine accepting payments for the rest at a rate my brother could afford. He also knew the fuel pump would need to be replaced and agreed to cover that when the time came. After taking possession of the car, my dad looked up KBB and thought the price was too high. Instead of calling E, he called me and complained to me multiple times and said E was a crappy partner for not giving my family a deal, even though E thought that he was. E saw me crying after a phone call with my dad, so E called him. Since all the conversations had been between E and my brother, and my dad and me, this was their first time talking about the car. On the call, my dad presented his perspective to E and asked what he would do if it was his kid. E responded that he would have been more involved from the beginning. My dad didn't let E talk after that and said he was selfish and untrustworthy. Said he couldn't trust him to take care of his family or me. Given the drama, E agreed to take the car back and went to pick it up immediately. He returned the deposit and paid brother for washing it and changing the oil. This was about 4 days after he had delivered the car. E and I are planning a wedding after 7 years together and 6 living together. After this call, my dad thought E owed him an apology and vice versa. I sided with E since my dad is the one that was hurtful in my opinion, and seeing malice where there was none. When I spoke to him unpromptedly, he said he was fine not being a part of my wedding if he wasn't going to apologize. I believe this was manipulative and planned to hold him to it, even though it's really hard for me to picture the day without him, and I know this won't be easily undone. We are currently low contact. He doesn't think I see E clearly enough, even though he has never made an effort to get to know E. For context, E and I both make good money, so he thinks we could have afforded and should have given my younger brother a better than market deal. E believes he puts a lot of time and energy into maintaining his cars, and he has no need to sell it. So why would he sell it for less than what it is worth? E is a homebody, and so is my dad, so they both point to the other for why they don't have a relationship. I often go to family events alone, which I prefer over forcing E to give up limited free time doing something I enjoy that he doesn't. He does attend for major holidays, but not for Lazy Sunday like I do since my family is very close and my brothers are still young. Am I the a-hole if I hold my dad to his threat, given how disrespectful and hurtful he is being? OP is doing the right thing by standing by her partner. It's really just as simple as that. I could try and go on and on about the dynamics of a father-daughter relationship and how he's losing OP to another man and blah 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 blah. But the bottom line is, OP is doing the right thing by standing by her partner. I think OP's dad is also in the wrong about the car, and E is in the right. In fact, E is exceedingly chill about the whole thing, I think. Especially for being that willing to take it back and compensate for a car wash and an oil change. That additional compensation is above and beyond. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Oh, you Sheik's goddess says, never throw out an ultimatum you aren't ready to back up. Your dad threw down an ultimatum. Hold him to it, not the a-hole. Tiger Dude 33 says, not the a-hole. Your dad is a jerk, should be treated like one. He can feel free to chip in his own money for your brother's car if he feels so strongly about it. Casimir says, hell no, you're not the a-hole. Far as I'm concerned, tell dad to kick ducking rocks and leave you two alone. If he thinks he's some kind of car whiz, why did he even have your brother looking for a car? He should have been able to spot a better deal in a few minutes, if he was that friggin' smart. Get him and his advice-pushing ways out of your relationship. Hell, send him a picture of you two at your wedding with a caption saying, glad you weren't here to comparison shop this. My ex-wife and I had 4 kids together, 20 female, 19 male-female twins, 17 male, before she left 10 years ago. She packed a suitcase, left a note, and essentially vanished. She was meant to pick up our kids from school, but didn't. I was unreachable, and the kids were left for hours. They've suffered massive trauma as a result. My kids are in therapy, I'm in therapy. I remarried, and my husband has become a wonderful parent to my children, as well as our 4-year-old girl. For the past 10 years, I've had no contact with my ex-wife and have little to no information as to her whereabouts. In January, she reached out to let me know she was moving back to our province. She apologized for leaving, explained she was overwhelmed, and wanted to co-parent with me and develop a relationship with the kids. Since then, we've been working with professionals to help my children get to know their mother again. We have strict rules about this. They are all written down, with a copy given to myself, her, all 4 of our children, my husband, etc. They are extensive and intense. She is on her last strike. My children are almost adults, and I know that, but they asked me to serve as an intermediary in this relationship to protect them, and we drafted these rules together as a family. They are always in control here. A few days ago, I was the only one home, and she came by with a little girl, asking to see the kids. I told her they were out, and reminded her that my husband and I asked for advance notice before a visit, and that we didn't want anyone but her to be at these visits. She told me she had been hiding from the kids, and was not unveiling her true life. 9 years ago, she and her boyfriend had a kid, and that's the one on my doorstep, who she wants to introduce to my children. I asked her politely to please go home. She refused. I insisted she leave, so I could speak with my lawyer, the children's therapist, and my husband, as well as do some research and prepare the kids. I promised her I would call her when she could come by. She refused. I asked her to please send her daughter to the car at the very least. She refused. Again, I told her to leave and that I would contact her that night. She wouldn't go. I told her she can't blindside the kids, and she told me I can't deny her a relationship with them. I lost my temper. I shouted at her, saying that if she wanted a relationship with them, she should have kept the one she had 10 years ago. Her daughter began to cry. She began to cry, and she left. I decided to wait to tell my kids, but let my husband know. He was furious, both at my ex and at me. He told me that I should never have shouted in front of the child like that, and I should have just been calm and called the police. He was so mad that he slept in the guest room and has been chilly with me. I don't want to tell our kids about this without him, and I want to know if I really was wrong for it. Am I the a-hole for shouting at my ex in front of her young daughter? Edit. I am male, he, him. I did not know I was bi until after my ex had left and I met my husband. Edit 2. I got the chance to talk with my husband after supper, and I'm grateful we did. We've always had a family rule that we do not yell, not at each other, not at the kids, not at anybody who comes onto our property, and I violated that. I explained to him that I felt really pinned in the situation, and I acted impulsively, and I wish I would have handled things differently. I was worried that the kids would come home and see her on the doorstep and things would escalate. I apologized to him, and he forgave me. He apologized to me for being harsh, and basically just said he's been really stressed out, and this has made things so much more intense. He understood that there were limited options, and all of them were pretty bad. We decided to break the news to the kids tomorrow. I can't imagine how hurt they'll be, but after an emergency phone call to their therapist, we cannot, in good conscience, leave this any longer than we have. Tish Fan Club says, not the a-hole. I agree you shouldn't have yelled, but not sure having a police officer come to escort them away would have been less upsetting for her daughter. Your ex-wife is the one truly at fault here for continuously ignoring both the terms of your agreement and your warnings. Outloud 230 says, not the a-hole. You weren't upsetting her child. She was using her child as a prop to force your compliance. That child should never have been in that situation to begin with. Yelling wasn't ideal, but you didn't have any good options as calling police would have been even more traumatic. You were protecting your kids. Your ex was supposed to be protecting hers and seems to be failing all around. President Biscotti says, not the a-hole. I agree that yelling in front of a kid is not ideal, but it'll ultimately leave way less trauma than if she'd seen her mother be escorted by the police. My sister-in-law and brother and their 2 children recently moved closer to home, back into our home state, for reasons. Now family can visit them within reasonable time and distance. We're all thrilled, of course. Recently, within the last year, I got a dog who is being trained. I'm also training to be my future psychiatric service dog. Sister-in-law and bro know about him, as do their kids. They've seen plenty of pictures and heard me gush. But now that they're finally closer, my dog, not fully certified service dog yet, and I can visit them. Their kids love animals, but they have no pets. So when we set off to visit, when sister-in-law and my brother invited us to a little housewarming party with some of their neighbors, I saw this as an unproblematic win-win. But not long after arriving and introducing my dog to my bro's family and meeting some of their neighbors, sister-in-law guides me and my dog aside and expresses concern about him. Zero clue what could be wrong, so I ask sister-in-law, "What's up?" Sister-in-law very bluntly tells me that, "You should have told me he wasn't fixed before bringing him over with you." He is a well-trained dog. Yes, he is a young dog, but he is very well-trained, as he should be. He does not act inappropriately. I add that he will be fixed, but we have to wait until he's a bit older. Sister-in-law explains that she understands, but that doesn't want to explain why my boy still has his jewels to her kids, as apparently one of them asked her about it. I don't quite buy that. Until he is neutered, he can't come into my home. I explained to her that he needs to come with me, but she stands firm. So the pup and I ultimately have to carefully leave the house. Bro meets me at my car and asks me where I'm headed. I quietly tell him that I have to leave because sister-in-law doesn't want my dog in the house. Bro's texts greet me as I get home. Sister-in-law is very embarrassed after one of the neighbors asked her why my dog and I left so suddenly. She got very flustered and kind of clammed up. Bro tells me that he gets it, but he tells me that I need to apologize to sister-in-law, as I was an a-hole and caused a scene as I left. Sister-in-law told our parents, but they refused to get involved. I had been out of sight with sister-in-law prior to leaving. I was deliberately quiet when leaving the house, and also quiet when I told my bro what sister-in-law said. How was I supposed to know that their neighbor was so nosy? I intend to apologize to sister-in-law, but am I the a-hole in how I handled this? Not the a-hole for the way you handled your departure. It seems like you did your best with leaving quietly. I'm so confused on her reasoning of why the dog can't come, though. I would understand if he isn't neutered and peeing on stuff, but because he has balls? I genuinely don't know how to feel about any of this. Also, a big yuck at sister-in-law trying to involve the parents. That seems dramatic and catty to me. Not the a-hole, but I'm not seeing what you are supposed to apologize for. She told you that the dog couldn't stay and you left. I don't see where you did anything wrong. Info. Why would you apologize? She's the one who kicked you out. Also, if she can't tell her kids about a dog's anatomy, my guess is they will not be getting any information about their own anatomy, unless your brother teaches them. She created a whole scene because she saw dog balls? How did she conceive those kids without facing balls? You did fine. She's a jerk. How awkward. Not the a-hole.